Hey, what's going on, Black people? What's happening? Hope you guys are doing well. I am in experimental mode today because I am trying to find more efficient and effective ways to live stream to you guys. I could use your help actually. If you could tell me if you can hear me and see me okay. Let me see here. I'm looking here, and as I expected, I'm still not. I still don't have my game totally down, but I'm getting better at this stuff. I'm not totally efficient with this. Come on into the live stream as we get started in the conversation. We're going to talk a little bit about Antonio Brown. This brother, I'll tell you what, this guy is really in a real interesting situation. I don't know if you guys have been following. Give me a yes or no if you've been following the debacle of Antonio Brown and what's been going on with him. Give me a yes or no if you've seen, kind of what's been happening with Antonio. It's kind of sad, I mean, the guy is, he had the world at his feet, and it just looks like he's, I don't know. It looks like he's headed on a downward spiral that I don't think is going to get any better for him anytime soon. So anyway, the thing is that, the whole big conversation this week had been basically the fact that Antonio Brown was in an altercation with a guy who was driving a delivery truck for him, and apparently he found some reason to fight the guy who was driving the delivery truck. I guess it was because they had a disagreement or whatever, and his trainer got involved, and his trainer ended up getting arrested. I think that it was I guess they hit the guy or whatever, and so now after 2 days of waiting, the police have just announced that Antonio Brown's turned himself into jail. I am under the suspicion that that he probably bailed himself out. So I don't anticipate that Mr. Brown will be in jail for a long time. But I do think, obviously, this is an example of when keeping it real goes wrong. And the thing is, like, the conversation with Antonio Brown, and I mentioned this before. Okay, Jay Real says the software is crystal clear. Thank you. Am I coming through crystal clear? Give me a yes or no if I'm coming through crystal clear. Yes if I am, no if I'm not, because I want to make sure you guys can hear me. Give me a yes or no if I'm coming through crystal clear, because I'm trying to work hard and be like Outcast, and I'm trying to be fresh and clean. So ain't nobody dope as me. I'm just so fresh, so clean. All right, cool. Thank you, Iron and Monifa. I appreciate that. All right, so I'm officially the coolest kid on the block for at least the next 10 seconds until I do something else ridiculous. So but yeah. So Antonio Brown's kind of going through his latest little adventure, and I don't really know what to say to the guy. I mean, if somebody asked me to advise Antonio Brown or mentor him, I wouldn't even know what to do. I'd probably just say, I think we need to get you on some medication. I think you need a therapist at the very least. If you get a therapist, maybe your therapist can help you get to the point where you don't need the medication. Because the problem that I see with Antonio Brown is not the fact that he's crazy. Like, that's been well established. Like, we know Mr. Brown, ain't wrapped tight, and again, it's probably the CTE. I was talking on another platform earlier that basically, if you look at football and you look at the types of positions, wide receivers and tight ends tend to take the most hits on the football field. And basically, you think about it, Aaron Hernandez, the guy that played for the Patriots, who was getting into all that gangster shit, going around shooting people and shit, he was a tight end. Kellen Winslow Jr., who just got 1,000 years in prison for raping old ladies. Like, literally, he was going around trying to, like, get on top of old women, like older than his grandma. That's not normal behavior, right? That's like, that tells me something is not right in your brain. And here's the thing about the human brain. I'm not a brain expert, but one thing I'll tell you guys is that, if something shifts in your brain, like if something is jacked up in your brain, you aren't yourself anymore. I remember reading a story somewhere about a man who found out that, or what was it? He was really disturbed because, and he told his wife, he said, I'm really worried because for some reason, he said, I'm attracted to children. And this man, who was a normal man, had a normal sex life, he just woke up one day and he was attracted to children, right? Which has got to be the biggest nightmare ever. And so Anyway, his wife, of course, she calls the police, but then they take him to the doctor, and they find out that the reason that this was going on is because he had brain damage. He had a tumor, and so they removed the tumor, and he went back to normal. His sex life went back to normal. His drive, his attraction was what it used to be. And so, but then what happened was maybe about 6 months later, it came back. Suddenly, he was attracted to children again, and he didn't know why. And he knew that this was wrong, but he was like, "Why do I?" Why is it that when I get around children, I feel the way I feel when I'm around a woman? Like that really bothered him. And so it turned out that the tumor had come back. So something as small as a brain tumor can change your personality. That's my point. Another example is I don't know if anybody knows. Give me a yes or no if you are aware of that story about the guy at the University of Texas in the 1960s who went off and started shooting a whole bunch of people. Like he did this crazy mass shooting at the University of Texas, and he was on top of the school tower or whatever, and he just started just blasting everybody from the top of this tower. Well, what happened was this guy. What was interesting was he didn't have any criminal record. He'd never been arrested. He had good grades. He was like as normal as you and I. And he said that I don't, when he died, actually the police killed him or something, or he killed himself after he shot all these people. And he said, I want you guys, he said, when I die, please study my brain, because he said, for some reason, I just have this desire to kill. And I don't know why. It just came over me. For some reason, I just want to go get a gun, cock that shit, and just start blasting everybody. And so, the point is to say that your brain is precious, man. In fact, that was one of the reasons why I never took drugs and got into alcohol, is because I never wanted to risk putting a mind-altering substance in my body. Like I don't know what would happen if I got drunk or got high. I don't know what I would do. Maybe I turn into a whole different person. So, and the thing is that there are lots of black men in prison right now for things they did while they were high. And so if there are black men in prison right now for things they did while they were high, and there are black men in prison today for things they did while they were drunk, how many black men are in prison today for things they did after they got brain damage? How many football players, they get this CTE doesn't just happen to NFL players. This CTE actually happens, with high school kids. It happens with elementary school. It happens with college athletes. Another guy, Joe Gibbs. Give me a yes or no if you know Joe Gibbs, who used to be the coach of the Washington Redskins. Anybody know the name Joe Gibbs? Give me a yes or no if you know Joe Gibbs' name. And I'm going to tell you why. Yes or no? Do you know who Joe Gibbs is? Well, Joe Gibbs he was a legendary coach of the Washington Redskins. Joe Gibbs had a son who played quarterback at William and Mary College. His son was a very nice guy from what I understand. I never met him, but he was highly thought of, and he got into NASCAR racing. Well, about the age of 40, Joe Gibbs' son, Joe Gibbs, the legendary coach of the Washington Redskins, his son who played college football, never went to the NFL, only played college football, he starts having symptoms of CTE, and he goes to the doctor. And the doctor tells him that his brain is deteriorating. Like literally his brain was deteriorating. There's nothing they could do about it. So this man died about the age of 42. And it was a very painful, very uncomfortable death, because the whole time he was dying, his brain was deteriorating. So what I just want to just kind of say is that I think that we just got to have a real conversation about this. You got these NFL players, some of whom are suffering in silence. If they're lucky, they're suffering in silence and nobody knows what they're going through. At worst, though, you got Antonio Brown type situations. At worst, you got Kellen Winslow Jr. type situations. At worst, you got Aaron Hernandez situations, where he kills a bunch of people and then hangs himself in his cell. At worst, you got Lawrence Phillip type situations where he was dragging his girlfriend by her hair down the steps. At worst, you have Ray Rice situations where Ray gets a little tipsy and punches his wife out in the elevator and drags her out of her limp body out of the elevator, right? At worst, you get O.J. Simpson, who allegedly, who at the very least was beating the hell out of his wife. And some people think he might have killed her. I don't know. All I know is I would not let O.J. babysit my kids. So that's just real. I'm not saying O.J. did it. I'm just saying, that I wouldn't be surprised if he did. So Dave Durison, there you go. Dave Durison's another one that was close to home. I knew a woman who was dating Dave Durison at the time Dave died. Junior Seau, another great player, a warrior on the field, one of the greatest of all time, who died in early death. I don't even think Junior was 40 years old when he died. Andre Waters. Andre Waters, I remember him. Remember I think when he played for the Philadelphia Eagles, right? Andre Waters was amazing. Andre Waters was, one of the greatest. And as a kid, when you are an athlete, and I was an athlete as a kid, I have a kind of a stocky build, and I was very fast. I was actually faster than all the players on the football team. Literally, I raced the fastest dudes on the football team, and I beat them all. And so anyway, as a kid, you look up to that. Like when you're a kid, you want to be that. Like that's what you want to do. A lot of you got sons that really want to be out on that field. And I just really think that if I loved you, and I hope I can say this and not have you get mad at me for it, but if I love you, the best thing I would probably say to you is, let's just think it through a little bit before we start signing our kids up for brain damage. That's all I'm just saying. I'm not saying don't play football. Football's fun to watch. I am a football fan, which is why I'm torn and I'm tortured by this. But I think at the end of the day, there is something that we have to really talk about. And so Antonio Brown, that ain't nothing but mental illness on full display. That's all that is. Sometimes, in fact, even on YouTube, when you see some people out here acting a damn fool on YouTube, got little YouTube channels threatening to kill people, acting crazy, cussing people out. Some of those people got mental illnesses, and they just have a big platform to display their mental illness. So I think that's what Antonio is. He's a mentally ill man who unfortunately has a big platform that gives him enough rope to hang himself. And there's no telling how this story is going to end. It ain't going to end well for this brother. His football career is over. Ain't nobody gonna mess with him. He was a Hall of Fame wide receiver already. He was supposed to be Hall of Fame. He ain't gonna be Hall of Fame, but that's the least of his worries. Not being in Hall of Fame, he doesn't have to worry about that. Who cares about that? Not making, whatever 30, 40 million, $50 million he was still owed. I ain't worried about that. I'm really thinking about, is this guy going to end up in prison or dead? And I think that the way he is behaving, it's just sad for me. I mean, it's really sad to watch. And I really wish at the very least somebody had the authority to take away his cell phone so that he can't get on Instagram and act a damn fool in front of the world. And I think that even when he was playing, I remember him doing little things like, filming the locker room when the coach was giving a speech during the playoffs. I mean, that was just some punk shit. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, guys get really mad at you when you do stuff like that. Like, that shows that you don't have any sort of discipline or loyalty or whatever. It's almost like snitching. Like, what are you doing? So I don't know. I just kind of feel bad for the guy. So I think with Antonio, it's a mixture of immaturity, the drunkenness, the financial drunkenness is what I would call it, where you get a bunch of money, and if you're an ass with no money, then you're going to be a bigger ass when you get more money. So I think financial drunkenness, immaturity, social media addiction, that those things were already there. And then you throw in brain damage on top of that. So to me, I believe I wouldn't be surprised if one version of CTE is one where, you have the same impulses as everybody else, but the difference is that maybe your CTE, because you've taken damage maybe to your prefrontal cortex, which is where you think strategically and logically, and you separate the things that you can think about doing versus the things that you actually do. Maybe because that part of your brain is damaged, what happens is you have a thought, somebody else has a thought, but you act on your thought. You don't just have the thought and keep it to yourself. The other guy might have the thought and keep it to himself. Like, he might say, ooh, look at her booty. And in his mind, he's like thinking, I'd like to grab her booty, but he knows he's going to go to jail. He knows that she's going to be offended. Whereas a guy who doesn't have those inhibitions in place might actually reach out and grab it, right? So that's what I'm really thinking, is that Antonio Brown is revealing who he already was, but the CTE is killing his ability to have discernment. I think it's killing his ability to discern between what you should do and what you should keep to yourself. Because he's kind of laying it all out there. And what it's doing is it's not just pissing off the world. Who cares what the world thinks? It's alienating his allies. It's alienating the people that were going to go to bat for him, and the people that were willing to take a chance on him, and he's screwing those people too. So he's become very toxic from a business standpoint. And I don't really know how that's going to play out for him. I like to see how it does. I hope he's okay. I wish him the best, but that's all there is to say about that. Okay, guys. So I'm going to go. I just wanted to test out this software also, and then talk about the Antonio Brown thing. Thank you guys for putting up with me. I appreciate you, and thank you very much. 10-2 Lions Whelp. Thank you for your donation. I appreciate that. If you'd like to be a patron of the platform and help us to expand and reach more people around the globe, please go to intelligentblackpeople.com. That's intelligentblackpeople.com. Also, feel free to go to boycewatkins.com. You can find out about classes and lectures and seminars and books and all different kinds of things we have going on. That's boycewatkins.com. And somebody just said, Dr. Boyce, Christina says, you're looking nice these days. Powernomics. Well, thank you very much. I'm working on it. I'm working on it. Like, I'm running a half marathon Saturday. I'm not ready for it. I am absolutely mortified. It's called the F3 because it's right on the lakefront in Chicago, and it's cold as hell, and it's 13 miles. And but I'm going to do it because the discomfort of finishing that race is not as great as the discomfort of being obese. And I don't want to be obese anymore. And so, but one thing I'll tell you guys to encourage you as you move forward and try to, lose weight or whatever you're trying to do, don't try to do it all at once. Take baby steps. A lot of times I don't really run that fast. Sometimes I'll run, a quarter mile and then walk a quarter mile or whatever. The thing that I just remind myself to do is just keep moving. Just keep moving, man. If I keep moving, I know I'm going to make progress. If I keep moving, I know I'm going to lose weight. If I keep moving, I know I won't get fat. And that's what it is. So whatever you're doing in your life, whatever you're trying to overcome, just keep moving. Life is a marathon. It ain't a sprint. So it is what it is. So help the chubby community. You're funny. Well, I can't talk about that anymore because apparently people get upset when you bring it up, because I had that whole Lizzo controversy, which was very interesting to observe. I tell you what, you got a lot of motherfuckers out here in denial in this world. And, and I just tell you, if you want to be successful, you better get off that stupid train, because most people are sitting right on it. So you guys have a good day. Please hit that thumbs up button, hit the share button, hit the notification bell before you go. And boycewatkins.com, that's my website. So feel free to check it out. I'll see you guys soon. Take care and have a good night. I'll talk to you later. Peace.